The idea of the Australian identity has fascinated me for as long as I can remember. I was born into an Irish Catholic family in 1955. I was one of 3 children and we grew up on a mixed farm in the Southern Flinders Ranges. I didn't know any different. I liked what I knew and I knew what I liked. My parents weren't locals at Peekner. My dad was from a sheep property near Carrollton and Mum was from a horse racing family at Quorn. Life at Peekner seemed to revolve around hard work, struggle, the pub, sport and the Catholic Church. So if you weren't into heavy drinking, playing country sport or going to Mass, you didn't fit in. Peekner Catholicism seemed to be a cultural, not a spiritual thing, and involved a lot of obligation and symbolism. The town was known colloquially as Vatican Valley. Dad killed a ration sheep one Sunday when one of the old local blokes called in and told him, "It'll go black on the hook." Dad replied, "Well, the last 4 didn't." My earliest memories involve sheep, shearing, sheepdogs, chooks, a horse called Dobbin, and the sweet smell of diesel fumes from a massive Harris 744 tractor. Being the first grandchild, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, more so my dad's parents, but with regular visits to Mum's parents at Quorn. I recall that both my grandmothers were very kind to me, with Grandma Finlay giving me a special treat, Wheaties, and Grandpa Finlay had racehorses. To supplement his income, Dad was a shearer, and I don't remember a lot about him apart from him going away on Sunday evenings with a striped cream suitcase and a grey army blanket strapped onto it. Looking back, it was a bit like the iconic film Sunday Too Far Away. As on Friday nights, Dad would come home, as Mum described, 3 sheets to the wind. After I left school in 1972, I was packed off to Port Augusta to get a trade. I hated it. I wanted to be a shearer like my dad. I remember sitting on the roof of the Playford power station many times and looking across at the hills and thinking, home's over there somewhere. But I enjoyed some of my time at the port. I met some interesting people, made some good friends and learned lots of skills. But a lot of it was an alcoholic haze. Back then, in the halcyon days, ETSA worked on a pro-rata system of long service leave payment. So after 7 years and 1 day, I caught the train to Alice Springs to pursue my dream. I had a job on an outback cattle station. The perceived romantic lifestyle didn't live up to my expectations, and after several months in the saddle, I was back on the tools at the Alice Springs power station, but not for long. It was at Ross River Resort that I met my future wife and mother of my daughter. 1979 was a great year. But 12 months later I was back in South Australia on the tools again at the Etzeley Creek coalfield. In hindsight, it wasn't such a bad place to live and work for 6 years. I met and worked with some traditional Aboriginal blokes and had a good look around the country. 1986, the 150th anniversary of white settlement in South Australia, was another great year, but I spent most of it travelling around Europe and America. After a year away, I felt ready to settle down on the farm and return to Peekner. I became dad myself, but life didn't go to plan, and by 1992 I had fallen off the tracks. I deserted my family and once again fell back on my electrical trade, working at the nearby railway town of Peterborough. Quite unwell and riddled with Catholic guilt, I somehow managed to survive. I now live on the farm with my partner Helena, who inspired me to build my self-confidence, believe in myself and go to university. I have a meaningful relationship with my daughter Nell, who lives at Mount Gambier with her mother, and she is now a young woman. My life seems to be back on track. I'm still passionate about the Australian identity. I love the bush, the people and their stories, but I look at it from a different perspective. Australia is a big country with a diverse cultural background, from the Aboriginal to the so-called native born, and to those who've chosen to live here. That's what makes it the place it is, the people.